Hey everyone, my name is Corv and welcome back to my channel. Before I get started with the rest of the video, I want to start off with a big disclaimer. As you guys probably know from the thumbnail / title of the video, this is a tier list video. While class strength tier lists are heavily contested by the community due to very good balancing on Smilegate's end, I want to clearly state that this is not a strength tier list video. In this tier list, I'm going to rank classes based on my personal enjoyment of playing them in raids / dungeons, which is their single target builds. Additionally, for the most part, I will not be separating them into different engravings and will just be talking about the classes as a whole. When it comes to class strength, as I mentioned before, the classes in Lost Ark are extremely well balanced, and ultimately, you should 100% play whatever class you enjoy the most. As long as you are a good player and you understand how to properly gear your character, you will not be denied from groups based on what class you are playing. The second disclaimer that I want to make is that classes feel very different depending on how geared they are, for a variety of reasons, whether it's engravings, stats, gems, etc. As you can see, I have 12 characters at various different item levels / gem / engraving setups. As a result, my rankings will only be based on the current gear setup of my toons, because I cannot speak for how the classes will feel with more gear. With all that being said, let's hop right in. So as you guys can see here, I have the tier list set up, and I've already done a few things to it. So I have at the bottom classes that I don't have or that haven't been released yet. So I'm not going to be touching any of these, even though I do have a Deathblade at I think level 30. I'm not going to really touch on that because I don't think it would be a fair assessment. However, I'm really enjoying it so far. Secondly, just to keep you guys grounded as to how much experience I have on each class, these are the characters that I have T3 experience with, and these are the characters I have in T2 experience. So when I'm doing this ranking and this tier list, I want you guys to keep in mind that my tier 2 rankings are, maybe not as fleshed out as possible because I haven't experienced them with more gems and stats and things like that. And even with my T3 experience, only really my sorceress and my bard are quote unquote high item level of like 1385, 1400, correct stats, engravings, things like that. The rest of my T6 characters are kind of sitting at 1340. So also take that with a grain of salt. But anyway, let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to start with the T2 characters first, just because I have a little less experience with them. So to start off with Scrapper. Now, I was really turned off by Scrapper at the beginning, but I kind of had a change of heart once I switched builds. So I know I said that I wasn't going to talk about different class engravings. However, I will say that the engravings for me mattered for Soulfist and for Scrapper. Now, I used to play Taijutsu Scrapper when I was leveling up through T2 and T1, and I enjoyed it, but I don't think I had the right amount of stats and engravings, things like that, to really enjoy Taijutsu Scrapper. However, when I switched to Shock Training, um, even though I didn't have as good stats and things like that, it felt really fun to play. The hits felt really nice. So I'm going to put that in A. Berserker. I think Berserker is really fun because it feels like your hits are really strong. And what I mean by that is when you are swinging this big sword, it really feels like you're swinging this big sword. And on screen and the animations and the sound effects, it really makes it feel like you're this berserker who has this giant sword. And I think that's really cool. However, playing Mayhem, which is basically what everybody plays, constantly being at low health is maybe stressful and difficult to handle sometimes in raid mechanics, and you can feel like you're gonna die at any point. So I'm also gonna put that at A. Now, when it comes to Shadowhunter, I have to say that this class is extremely fun. And even though it's in T2, my Shadowhunter is kind of at the end of T2. So I have a bit more stats and things like that. Overall, playing Demonic, which is, what basically everybody plays, you need specialization so you can constantly transform, and you need your class engraving, which I do have up to the 3rd rank. That all being said, I think the playstyle is really fun. I think switching forms back and forth is also really fun, and when you're in demon form, it feels great to just spam your abilities. So I'm going to put that an A as well, and I'm going to put it, I wonder if, I think probably, I'm not sure. I think I'll put it after, yeah, actually I'm going to do Shadowhunter at the top spot of A. I think that it's probably my favorite alt that I have right now, besides one I'll get to later. So yeah, moving on to Soulfist. Now this is a very interesting class for a lot of different reasons. It's kind of getting destroyed right now in Korea based on the patch notes. A lot of Soulfist players are really upset. And I will say that I have tried both engravings and both playstyles and have had a very different experience on both of them. So when it comes to enjoyment for Soulfist, the remaining, or not remaining energy, that's Deathblade, Robust Spirit is the playstyle where you immediately go to your level 3 hype and you're like a Super Saiyan basically, and then you fall out of it. I would put this at C tier for that specific engraving, because without the right stats and engravings and things like that, it feels awful to play, because you are doing a lot of damage, you're feeling really good, you're using all your abilities, and then your hype wears off and you have this like 40 seconds of just not doing a lot of damage, having to wait to use your abilities so you don't run out of energy, and it just feels really not good. So that's what I have to say about that. However, the other class engraving, which is totally slipping my mind right now, I would have to put probably at an A tier as well, because it's really fun. It's super spammy. You're constantly hitting your abilities. You don't have to worry about running out of your energy or anything like that. So just keep in mind that Robust Spirit is going to be a C, and I'll keep Robust Spirit here because this is the most common play style, or the most common engraving. So last but not least, Gun Lancer. Now again, another class that kind of needs stats. I mean, all the classes need stats, so yeah, you guys know I already made my disclaimer and things like that. For my experience so far, I'm going to put Gun Lancer at a B, just because I still feel really squishy, and I'm playing Lone Knight. The crits do feel really good, but I taunt the boss, and that's also really fun. And then after I taunt the boss, my shield is depleted immediately, and I feel really squishy again. So as of right now, that's where I'm going to put Gun Lancer. So now let's move on to the played in T3 / geared out classes. Now, Lance Master is brand new, so this is a little biased because it feels really fun to play, maybe largely in part due to that it's a new class, but I think I enjoy it a lot more than my other A tier classes currently. So I'm going to put that in front of Scrapper. And you know what? I'm actually going to move it in front of Shadowhunter, because I think that this class is really, really fun. The movement feels really fluid. The rotation feels really nice. And I just think that the class is really well designed as a whole. So I probably going to put it as my top A spot. Um, so just as a fair warning, Bard and Sorceress are my current quote unquote mains. Bard is 1400, perfect stats, engravings, etc. My Sorceress is 1385, perfect engravings and stats, kind of catching up with other stuff. So, just disclaimer, I really love mages, and I'm going to put both of them in S tier. Now, this is obviously a biased. I'm going to put Sork actually in front. This is a biased take, clearly. And I'm going to go into reasons why. Sorceress, I mean, the class, if you like mages, the class is perfect. In my opinion, anyway. The abilities feel great. There's time management if you're playing Igniter. There's mana management if you're playing Reflux. The abilities feel strong. You do big damage. You're really mobile if you're playing Reflux, or even if you're playing Igniter. I think the class is super well designed. I'm actually switching mains from Bard to Sorceress because of how much I've loved the class. And I just think if you're a fan of casting spells, it is 100% something you need to check out because, wow, the class feels so fun and so incredible. Moving on to Bard. Now, I don't know what Smilegate has done, essentially. Well, I mean, I do know I've played the game, but it's incredible to me how fun supports are in this game, which is going to bring me to Paladin and also bring this up to S tier. Supports in this game are so fun. Now, I've played League of Legends for 8 years, and I hated playing support. I always felt useless. I always felt like my impact in the game was minimal, and that made me not enjoy playing that role. However, in Lost Ark, it's a totally different feeling. Supports feel like the group leader. Everybody wants you. You make everybody do more damage. You make everybody have higher defenses through shields. And one of the best parts that most people love is through your healing and shielding, people have to use less potions during the fights, which makes them save money. So you're extremely in high demand. And the playstyle of buffing your allies is also really fun because you know that you're making the fight go faster because you're giving everybody more damage. And that feels really nice. So playstyle wise, Bard and Paladin, absolutely love them. Great classes. I highly suggest trying out support. Like I said before, I didn't really enjoy support in other games, but in Lost Ark specifically, support is probably my favorite role. So, moving on to the last three, Gunners. So, I have more biases and things to say about these, but my experience with Sharpshooter is really fun. I play the Loyal Companion build, and it makes me feel like a hunter from WoW. I'm actually going to put it up here. Makes me feel like a hunter from WoW, which is nice. And I enjoy having a pet with me. Also, speaking of League of Legends again, I mained ADC in League, so I kind of feel like I'm playing ADC, which is really fun. So that's why I enjoy Sharpshooter. Now, Artillerist, I'm going to put at B because, and now I have the T3 Artillerist, so I did choose to level it over my other T2 classes, but it is so frustrating when you drop both your nukes and the boss moves. Now, I know with greater game knowledge. You can better plan your rotation and things like that. And don't get me wrong, the class itself is really fun and the design is great. But it is so frustrating when you have these two big nuke abilities that do so much damage and you pop them and you're so excited and then the boss moves and it misses and you just feel really bad. So that's why I'm going to put it at B tier. And Gunslinger, I'm also going to put at B tier. Now, playing Gunslinger is really fun. Um, Stance swapping and managing your cooldowns and managing your engraving buff all make the class enjoyable. However, it is super squishy and super um, like punishing for players because if you get hit by stuff, you're going to be spamming potions and or dead on the floor POV. So I think if Gunslinger was a little tankier, I would put them in A tier, but that's why I'm going to keep them at B tier. So yeah, that is my tier list. Remember, take everything with a grain of salt. This is only my personal experience. Obviously, my opinions are biased. At the end of the day, play what you want. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to be invited to groups. Do not worry about that. I would love to hear what your guys' favorite classes are, or maybe if you have agreements or disagreements with my rankings, I would love to hear your perspectives. I know there are so many tier lists out there, and I wanted to make one that was more focused on, of my opinion, of fun classes. So this is, again, only for raids. If people are interested, I could make one for PvP because I've started playing a lot of PvP lately and I do my PvP weeklies on all my classes, and the tier list looks very different for PvP. So thank you guys again for listening, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.